We had long conversations about bringing Davros back because he's a fantastic character. Time and society and culture and taste has moved on, and there's a problem with the Davros of old in that he's a wheelchair user who is evil. And I had problems with that, and a lot of us on the production team had problems with that, of associating disability with evil. And trust me, there's a very long tradition of this. I'm not blaming people in the past at all, but the world changes, and when the world changes, Doctor Who has to change as well.
Where to begin? This could be the stupidest thing I have ever heard Russell say. The implication that someone who is disabled in some manner can't be evil or can't be a bad person is utterly ridiculous. And not casting Davros in his traditional role just because you have to make a political point is also ridiculous. Everyone knows who Davros is. Everyone watching the Children in Need special is going to know who Davros is. He's one of the most iconic villains in Doctor Who. And to drastically alter his character like this, even though it's a great performance from Julian, for that purpose of pushing an agenda, it's doing a disservice to the character. It's doing a disservice to everyone involved with that character. It's insulting Robert Holmes. It's insulting Terry Nation. It's insulting Michael Wisher. It's insulting everyone involved with Davros. Philip Hinchcliffe. Because the idea that disabled people can't be evil or mean or bad or assholes is ridiculous. Having a disability doesn't make you evil. Having a disability doesn't make you good. Having a disability doesn't make you special. To be fair, not having a disability doesn't make you good, evil, or special either. It's like, if we're going to do this, does that mean Professor Xavier can't be in a wheelchair anymore because he's a good guy? Because if you can't show favoritism one way, you obviously can't show favoritism the other way either. So, if you're going to go that route, because it's not fair to say that, you know, well, you can't show someone evil in this light because it might make people think disabled people are evil. Well, then it's not fair to turn around and show someone like Charles Xavier as inherently good, but you can't just say that, well, this person's disabled, so they're inherently good. Because that's also not the case. It would be just as wrong to portray Charles Xavier as inherently good because he's disabled as it would Davros as inherently evil because he's disabled. And I understand what Russell means when he talks about how in the past people have used, you know, scars and stuff to show bad people like Blofeld. But, and I understand moving forward with characters where you might want to shy away from that a bit. But doing it with an established character in the universe like Davros, it just feels like pandering. And South Park has done a really good episode recently talking about how irksome pandering is, especially when it's for the sake of pandering. The thing is, and this is a case in real life, being disabled doesn't give you a free pass to be an asshole or to be evil. Now, to be fair, also, not being disabled doesn't give you a free pass for these things either. But, you know, if I met someone who was disabled and they were an asshole to me, I would have no qualms going, hey, you're an asshole. I would have no problems with that. You know, it's just, you'll notice they have no problems making sure we know Davros is a white guy. No problems with that. It's okay. It's okay to have him evil. Apparently, the only people we can have as bad guys now are white, straight males. It's okay to make them evil. Anyone else evil, and you're somehow typecasting or you're profiling or anything. It's utter nonsense. You're some kind of ism or isist, or you know, you're a misogynist, or you're a racist, or you're a sex, or you're something, or you're a transphobe, or whatever. You know, now being a straight white male doesn't give you a pass at being an asshole. Being trans, being a woman, being black, being brown, being Asian, being disabled, nothing gives you a pass to being an asshole. You know, because Being white doesn't make you an asshole. Being black doesn't make you an asshole. Being a man doesn't make you an asshole. Being a woman doesn't make you an asshole. Being trans doesn't make you an asshole. Being disabled doesn't make you an asshole. Being an asshole makes you an asshole. No matter what you look like. And that's something that this should be common sense. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with having someone with a physical disfigurement portrayed as a bad guy. I don't think there's anything wrong with having someone with a physical disfigurement being portrayed as a good guy, because these things happen in real life. And for Davros especially, his physical disfigurement to me is part of his character development. Now, I've never listened to Davros or any of the Big Finish Davros stuff, which I believe has delved into this and how he became Davros, but it's always in my mind that his physical disfigurement is part of what left him so unhinged to become Davros, to become the kind of megalomaniac. And that can really happen to people. I mean, you look at our own veterans in wars and the post-traumatic stress they go through, sometimes even just mentally, and what that does to people and how it ruins their lives. You add in our, military soldiers who do get disfigurements, who lose legs in like Vietnam, or who lose arms, or who lose their sight. And that is physically traumatizing. Just in real life, losing a limb or suffering a physical disfigurement is traumatizing. It just is. I mean, you can move past it. Look at Christopher Reeves. He moved past it. But I know he said before about how he's dedicated like 20 minutes a day when he first woke up to weeping and talking about how unfair his situation was. But he's able to move past it because he's Superman and he can do that. Christopher Reeves was an amazing man. It frustrates me to see this kind of politicking being done with this character that we know is a bad person. And to be honest, again, his physical disfigurement could have contributed to that to him. Even though going by this special, which again, I don't count as canon, I just count it as a skit, that he was already heading in that direction beforehand. I much think it's interesting how reflective it is of real life, how physical trauma can cause mental trauma. And for Russell to just take all of that and throw it out the window, I feel it's a slap in the face to veterans. I feel it's a slap in the face to actual people who are disfigured and are handicapped or disabled. I think it's insulting to them to say, hey, that mental trauma you may have suffered from the physical trauma you had, nah, that's not true. Nah, we don't want to portray, nah. Which I get that's probably not what Russell is meaning to say, but I could see people picking up on that. You have to think about the things you say, because the things you say can have unintended consequences. And I am very frustrated by this, because the idea that you can't portray someone with a disability as bad is just asinine. But, I mean, if you're going to do that, then you can't portray people with disfigurements as good either, because, this shouldn't be a double standard here. Shouldn't be a double standard. So no one's allowed to have any kind of handicap anymore in movies. At the same time, they'll be like, well, people with handicaps aren't getting shown enough in TV shows. Like John Bishop's Dan's girlfriend in Flux, she was missing her arm. But that's okay, because she's cast in a positive light. Can't cast her in a negative light, though. No. It's a double standard. I don't like double standards. They irk me. So on one hand, you're saying, hey, we need to show more people with disabilities. But on the other hand, you're like, but we can't show people with disabilities in a bad light. I need y'all to get on the same page here with your checklist. Your checklists are contradicting each other here. Come on. And hey, this video might make some people mad. Maybe they're like, well, you don't get it. But you know what? I never coddle you. Those of you who watch my channel regularly, I don't coddle you. I don't toe the bullshit line, the BS line. I don't do that. I'm bluntly honest with my opinion. I love the fact the channel is over 1,000 subscribers now. I appreciate so many of you are down in the comments every day or nearly every day. But I formed this channel to speak my opinion. That is my primary goal, always. Not to speak whatever the popular thing is to say for the day, not to say what I think will get me all the likes and the views, as much as I would love for the channel to grow in views. Not if it means I can't have the freedom to speak my mind. One of my top tier patrons, Steven, one of the reasons why he is one of my top tier patrons is he likes my opinion. He loves the fact I give my honest opinion. He respects that. And he was my first top tier patron, and he's still my top tier patron, one of my top tier patrons, because he likes the fact that I am sometimes bluntly honest, and he respects that. So the idea, what I would say to Russell T. Davis is the idea that someone who is disabled in some way can't be evil or just an asshole is utterly ridiculous. Of course they can. There are plenty of people out there that maybe something happened to them and they're angry at the world and they are an asshole to everyone else. I don't care if you're disabled. It doesn't give you an excuse to be an asshole to everyone, including me. And I won't put up with it. You know, there's plenty of people out there who are disabled, who are great people. I had an uncle who, about a year before I was born, he was kind of the dad character in my life because my mom didn't meet my stepdad until I was a teenager. But he was pretty much the central dad character in my life. He lost his arm in an accident right below the elbow, and he had a hook, like Captain Hook. And he was the nicest guy in the world. Had a bit of a depression streak, possibly partly because of that, but he was a really nice guy. Bought me a lot of my toys growing up. Bought me my Nintendo, my Super Nintendo. Really good guy. My childhood would not have been as fun without him. Nicest guy in the world. So people with disabilities can be great people. I mean, I have a lazy eye myself. My hand-eye coordination is... I can't catch a football to save my life. And it really took me a long time to get driving down well. My first couple years driving were rough. So, because I have a lazy eye. I'm sure some of y'all have noticed. And some people would count that as a disability. Because it does impair me. But I don't use it as a crutch. My uncle never used it as a crutch. My uncle worked till literally the day he died. He died at work. He worked at a Walmart, actually, and he died right as he was going into work. Well, he suffered what caused him to die at work. But he still worked. He never asked anybody for anything. But I'm getting off topic. Just to summarize, if you're an asshole, it's because you're an asshole. It's not because you're disabled, because you're an asshole. Now, you might be an asshole because something happened to you to make you disabled. That's a choice that you made. You don't have to be an asshole. You know, being disabled doesn't give you a free pass to do what you want and act how you want and disrespect other people. Being a straight white male also doesn't give you that right. No matter what your race, gender, disability, disfigurement status is, you don't have the right to treat other people like crap. And there's no reason that you can't portray people on television and in a theater, any people, be they white, black, brown, Asian, male, female, trans, disabled, whatever, that you can portray them as good or bad. Because it's all down to the character, not what they look like or not what's wrong with them or what may have happened to them, but it's all down to the character itself and how well the character is written. So this has gone on longer than I intended. I find what Russell said here to be extremely worrisome about the future of Doctor Who, because he's going to be running the show for a while, and if this is his politics now in 2023, it fucking terrifies the hell out of me. Bluntly honest, I'm scared for Doctor Who if this is what I've got to deal with for the next few years. There's nothing wrong with casting traditional Davros. Russell, you did it yourself in Journey's End. There's nothing wrong with it. People in wheelchairs can be terrible people. People in wheelchairs can be amazing people. It's all down to the individual person and how they choose to act. So that's my thoughts on that. I would like to know what you think, and if this video has offended you, I don't care. Don't watch. I'm always going to speak my mind. So if you have a problem with anything I said, you have two choices. You can either get over it, or you can not watch. Don't care either way. I prefer to have everyone who watches, of course. But if you don't like what I have to say, then go watch something else. So don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button and the bell for notifications. Also down in the description, I have links to the Patreon, links to the Amazon wish list, the Amazon UK wish list, P.O. boxes down there if there's anything you'd like to send me to look at and review. YouTube memberships are available. I want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons, Stephen Crane, Colin Coney, and Finn Perkins. I appreciate their support. As I do the support of all of my patrons, it does make a difference. Most importantly, thank you for watching.